To discuss all of this and more, we're joined by Gadi Adelman. He's the counterterrorism expert and advisor, and Eric Mandel. Eric is the director of the Middle East Political Information Network. Thank you both for being with us. Gadi, let's start with you. As we heard from Daniel Tzemach, Hamas boasting that last month it launched 700 rockets in 30 hours, as they say. They claim that they have now found a way to overcome the Iron Dome rocket defense system. What do you make of this? Have they?
Not really, no. Let me explain. The Iron Dome, since its beginning, has really only been about 90% capable of stopping all the incoming rockets and missiles from Gaza or from the north as well, wherever it's being utilized. Having said that, they got away with what they got away with in this last round. And without getting into the defenses of what Israel's going to do, it will not happen again. I can say that adamantly. It won't happen twice.
Eric, does this mean that they're going to add more Iron Dome batteries? Is that the solution here?
This really changes Israel's strategic paradigm. When Iron Dome came in the mid-2000s, the idea of it, Israel was always supposed to be fighting on somebody else's territory is the best way to fight. And the whole idea of absorbing missiles but being able to shoot them down really went against the Israeli strategy. But it is correct to think about, there were 700 missiles, almost 700 missiles that were sent. Only 279 were actually engaged, which means most missiles went elsewhere, which means that if they become more accurate, they theoretically can overwhelm it. I actually witnessed in 2012 when they were initially probing about trying how to overwhelm it. The real question here is Israel prepared for, on multiple fronts, intense missile wars? Because this is what Hezbollah could do in miniature.
And yeah, that brings us to the bigger picture and the political debate of what Israel should do and what Israel is doing. Gadi, I want to still focus, though, for a little bit on Hamas's claim that it is replenished its rocket supplies. I mean, that was, again, a big political point of contention, at least with former Defense Minister Avigdor Lieberman with the previous elections, this ceasefire cycle with Hamas, where they're basically able to call timeout every time the Israeli defense gets a little bit too much for them. And then they get a chance to regroup and replenish their stockpiles. I mean, it seems like Lieberman, at least on this, has a very valid point.
Yeah, absolutely. And I made this point on your very show just a few weeks ago. I believe you were off that day. And we were talking about Iran having stopped their funding of Hamas. And I said it's not going to stop the rockets because one way or another, be it from other countries or by moving money around, Hamas will continue to rearm. This is what they do. And we've talked about it before. During every so-called ceasefire, it's nothing more than a time for them to rearm. So having this many rockets, it doesn't surprise me at all. I really don't think, given the 90% ratio of taking out those rockets that are incoming with Israel's capabilities, and again, I don't want to get into the particulars, Israel now knows what Hamas plans on doing, and I really don't think that can they overwhelm it a little bit? Yes, possibly. Will they do as much harm as they did in this last round? I don't believe so.
Yeah, well, as we mentioned, this was a big reason why Lieberman threw Israel into the last election. A different reason why Israel is thrown into election this time, mostly over the issue of ultra-Orthodox Jews being exempt from military service. And as Israel is in this new political landscape, we're learning that a former prime minister may be back in the political game. He's been out of politics for 6 years, but there are reports that former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak could be making a comeback. At least that is according to Israel's Channel 12 News. Barak is considering returning to his old post as the leader of Israel's Labour Party. He's already sent out feelers to current Labour Knesset members seeking their support, according to the report. Now, Barak has not confirmed anything, but he did address the rumours on Twitter, offering this cryptic response, saying, quote, "If I'll have something to announce, you'll find it, not just on Twitter." Eric, it's not really going to be tough for him to challenge the current leader of Labour, Avi Gabay, should he decide to make this move, is it?
Well, Gabay would be happy that he can leave with a little bit more dignity because he's sort of brought down or blamed for bringing down Labor. I think Labor's been brought down because the Israeli populace has moved center-right and they don't see answers in Labor. But Barak left Bibi a few years ago, not under good circumstances. He would like to come back to make himself relevant. Labor would like to make themselves more relevant. I don't think they really want to join Meretz, but they might have to, a party more left of them. So this makes some sense. The question is, does it really matter? And Ehud Barak was really a defensive guy, but now you have in blue and white. You have Gantz, Gabi Ashkenazi, and Boogie Ya'alon, who are all former chiefs of staff of the IDF, one Boogie being former defense minister. So it doesn't give them that much more credibility. So I think it will happen, but does it really make a difference for the election? Probably not.
And again, just a reminder that Labour had a terrible showing previous elections, winning just 6 seats. Eric, thanks so much. Appreciate it as always. Eric Mandel, Gadi Adelman, appreciate it.